Want to start
Yeah.
recording. So, to be kind of cognizant and recognize everybody's time, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We got an awesome group here today, so thank you guys so much. For those of you that have never met Hoyt Mann, president of AI, or Randall Nelson, founder of RamQuest back in the day, by the way, and CEO of Alanna AI, one of my favorite products in the space, and frankly, some of my favorite people. So I'm really excited today. For those of you that are coming to us from Maryland, Virginia, DC, you may not have seen last year into this year, we did a series called the AI Empowered Title Agent. This is season 2, episode 1. Last year we had 4 episodes. So before we kick off and really dive deep on what Alanna has going on and truly leveraging for the very first time in our industry, the data right within already living and breathing in your title production software. I wanted to quickly share with you all, for those of you that haven't seen it yet, a quick run through of some of the things that we have created for you all as FNF agents. So this is the AI Empowered Title Agent website. You can access it by going to aiempoweredtitleagent.com. You can also go through my microsite for those of you that have it, and there's a link below. The password is SGP, all caps, stands for Strategic Growth Program, SGP 2025. It is a password protected site, as it is a benefit with your relationship with FNF. So thank you so much for being an agent of FNF. We truly appreciate it. This is a benefit just for you guys. So I wanted to run you through this real quick and then just do a simple recap of last season of the AI Empowered Title Agent. So of course, as you can see up here, you're going to learn a little bit about the program, some of the things we've done. There's a great section on the tools that I'll show you in a second. We're building out some how-to kind of hands-on workshop-y type videos on great use cases for a title agent for a lot of these products. We've added some product reviews. We're developing a series of use cases with some of you agents. So thank you for those of you that have been participating with that. We have some great resources and then a few blogs on it. I wanted to walk you through. This is basically season 1 in a nutshell, episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we broke it down in sales, marketing, talent dev, HR, some operations and customer experience. I just wanted to quickly run through a couple of these. For those of you that have been using it, you know we have a wonderful partnership with Mike Simon and the team at Agent Brief. This is kind of a front-end lead generation conversation starting tool. If you haven't seen it yet, absolutely reach out to someone on the FNF team and we could tell you all about it. Definitely be checking that out. We went through chat. Crystal knows, really fun tool. Hoyt, you're a nerd like me. You would love this one. I don't know if you've messed with it at all, but Crystal Knows is basically a online personality profile builder. So you're able to go in, drop somebody's LinkedIn address in the product. It scours the internet and tells you how you should most effectively communicate with this person. How do you follow up with this person? What type of communication does this person prefer? So Crystal Knows is really cool. And you'll notice, and we're filling these out still, you'll notice there's a little link here. This link goes to a video explaining this product that was a part of our season 1, episode 1 through 4 series. So all of this is there for you. There's you guys right here in operations and customer experience. Did a great session on Alanna with a lot of kind of the foundational stuff. Some of the things that we'll go over really quickly today, but we're excited to show you something that you probably have never seen before that's just been released in the wild. Guide, really cool tool for building out some process and procedure videos. One of my favorite of all of these is Scribe. I realized as a title agent at one point, we had somebody go out of the office unexpectedly, unfortunately, and we kind of looked around and we're like, who knows how to do Janet's job? And we realized that we did not have that cross training and talent redundancy. So I worked really hard for months and months and had a committee put together, and we spent hours and hours building out some process and procedure manuals on how to do what people like Janet did. Scribe is an incredible tool where you can just go through the activity on your screen and it will automatically turn that into a process and procedure guide with images, AI generated verbiage as far as what you're doing. This one is really, really powerful. Video to blog, one of my favorites. You can take, for example, a long form webinar or interview and put it into video to blog, and it automatically turns it using AI into a really well-written blog, including images and links, and it's really incredible. Lumen 5, you guys have probably been messing with. You can turn either a URL, right? So like a link to maybe the About You page on your website, or even a document. So you've got a PDF for your agents out there, maybe a flyer for their open house. You could throw their flyer as a PDF directly into this, and it will turn it into like a 45-second video about that house. If you've got a new process and procedure internally that you want to provide as a video so that your internal team will actually remember what they're seeing. There's a really ton of ways to be able to use something like Lumen 5 to create content super simply from verbiage. And I'll just kind of wrap a quick recap with Notebook LM. Really cool, kind of closed loop, meant to be kind of a study guide was how it was baked originally. But you can input videos, you can input PDFs, just plain text, links to different websites, and it learns just from whatever you feed it. And one of my favorite use cases there, for those of you that weren't on that call, is you can actually take all that information, of course, ask it some questions, whatever. It is a Google product, so kind of like any AI, and we'll mention this in a minute, dropping anything that you wouldn't want on a billboard up the street from your house, not a great idea until Alanna came along, and we're excited to talk about that. But in Notebook LM's case, one of my favorite use cases for this is you can turn all of those documents into a podcast. And so there's two AI generated hosts that talk through whatever the idea is. In my case, if you're anything like me, we would have kind of leadership meetings or company meetings within my former company, and we'd get to the meeting and everybody would have had a 20-page PDF to read in preparation for the meeting. And what would really end up happening is it would be like sitting in my mom, second grade teacher for 46 years. It would be like sitting in her classroom. We would walk into the boardroom and we'd sit there and realize no one had read this, and we'd just sit there reading together for an hour and not really accomplish much. So imagine being able to take that PDF, turn it into a podcast, and tell everyone on your team, hey, do me a favor, listen to this for 20 minutes before our meeting. We've done that recently. Everyone came into the meeting prepared, ready to go, and it's really incredible. You can share that podcast with your clients, customers. It's really cool. So Notebook LM is on here too. Again, towards the bottom, there's some reviews. We're working on some use cases. There's some great resources here, an AI guide for title agents, an AI guide and a chat guide for real estate agents. You're welcome to share that with them. Of course, everything we went through here. And then we've broken down, hint, using video to blog AI. We broke down every episode of the series into a nice blog so that you can get a quick recap of everything that we went over. So I just wanted to share that with you again. Again, AIempoweredtitleagent.com, and the password is SGP, all caps, 2025. So I hope you guys find that helpful. If you have any questions, reach out to me or your FNF rep, and we can definitely help you work through that. So again, Hoyt and Randall, thank you so much for hanging out today. For those of us that may not be as familiar with Alanna to this point, would you give us kind of a quick recap on the last few years and where you've been leading up to Insights?
Absolutely. And thank you, Sam. Appreciate you having us on the show today. Episode 1. Love that. Great way to start season 2. Yeah, so Alanna AI, we kicked off in 2019, and one of the big things that we were looking to solve was a big issue around communications. And for the past 50, before we started Alanna, 15 years we spent in customer service and support. So this concept of serving customers and taking that experience to the next level, we saw AI as a way to get that done. And so Randall and I thought, hey, with Randall's background at RamQuest and founding RamQuest, we knew the title space pretty well. And we knew that communication outside of the title company was a challenge. And so we said, how can we do something different? How can we, nobody needs another web portal. Nobody needs another password to manage. We kind of came to the market and said, hey, it should be as simple as a text message to get some information out of a title company. So it's really on an agent's time frame, not on the title company responding to an email or a voicemail, things like that. And we said, hey, AI is gonna be able to help that process out to help solve that communications problem. So we dove into that, and there was quite a few people that were like blown away. They're like, wait, I can talk to a title company like I talk to Siri or Alexa. It's like, absolutely, just basically text to talk, hold up your phone, and you can have a conversation with basically kind of like having a conversation with the escrow officer or somebody at the title company. So that's where we started. And we've been leaning heavily into the AI world. And as everybody knows, the AI world's been blowing up. There's more new tools hitting the market. It feels like almost on a daily basis, because of the power and applicability of AI across all businesses. But what Randall and I focused in on is we are just focused in on title. Titles where we kind of cut our teeth and where we live. So we're building solutions for title companies around gathering data, extracting data out of sales contracts, trying to take data entry off the plate of a title agent and really using the skills and expertise within a title company for the things that they were hired to do, which is critically think, analyze data, and or basically analyze what's coming in from a sales contract and then work the process.
Yeah, one of the most exciting things about working with you over the last several years has been, as you put it, the AI world has just blown up, and that's all anybody's talking about right now, from Fortune 500 CEOs to people like me, right? But what's been fun for me to see is that there's a lot of companies out there that have ideas and thoughts and kind of hypothetical, theoretical things, but you guys have never talked about something until it actually existed. And I've always had a ton of respect for that, because at the end of the day, something can sound amazing, and then I'll sit down and have a meeting and I realize like they're maybe not quite there yet. It's still exciting. It's still fun to be a part of that kind of startup mentality. But you guys have been great about doing your due diligence so that when you bring something to market, it actually exists, which I know, is kind of a novel thing in your space. So just before we shift into insights, I'm super excited to talk about that because I'm a total nerd and I think back to my managing a title company days, and I just can't fathom having this powerful tool at my disposal. You mentioned doc recognition. If you would have told me years ago that someone could send me a PDF with 87 pages, kind of mixed up, they're not segregated in any way, and they could automatically be recognized, and an order could be opened within my production software to where I'm spending 3 or 4 minutes verifying information for accuracy versus 45 minutes opening it, I wouldn't have thought that existed. You guys have the, plain language model where anyone with no experience can ask simple questions and get simple answers very quickly, taking tons of time off the plate of an escrow officer, an assistant, and people in the office. And then the smart forms as well. Could you touch on the smart forms just a little bit? Because that's something that I think is really useful that not everybody knows about.
Yeah, the smart forms are so great because everybody is chasing after buyers and sellers for information. And so the easiest way to get that information is one, making it easy for the buyer or seller to give that information to you. So these smart forms can actually, intake that information and not only attach a PDF to the file of the resulting form, but also have the data come out of the form and actually go straight back into the production system after it goes through a QA process. So you know how horrible it is to have somebody's name wrong and print out all those documents for closing when, it was just a slight typo or, somehow it got into the system a little wonky. And so now we're all walking it back, printing another packet. I mean, it's really tough, but getting that information, giving a smooth and easy way for people to provide that information is key. Also, there's so many things you can do on the back end, which is, you can do any kind of fraud. We're not offering a fraud solution now, but I mean, the time to catch fraud is at that welcome packet when they come in the door. That's the time. And so it gives you a lot of opportunity to take some steps to make sure that data is correct. And the other thing is a follow-up concept. The idea of that, you're processing 100 or so files a month, and you're looking at all those files, and they're all in different statuses, if you will. Being able to see who has outstanding data, what files have been completed, and this concept of an auto follow-up. And so that's something Randall and his team put in place, which is really cool, that it just sits there and until that form's filled out, it goes through a series of messages, just like a marketing drip campaign, but more on the production side of things. So, it just saves time. I mean, all these little pieces and parts just save time. And that's what we're focused in on, is saving the title agent's time, creating a more efficient process. And at the same time, customers appreciate making it easy to do business with that title company. So, all these tools just, we're chipping away at it, Sam. There's so much more to do. And we just find another problem. Like, okay, let's tackle that one. Okay, let's tackle that one. It's just, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a insane football game. Yeah.
The Amazonification of the world is real. And so the consumer experience that somebody has when they buy something simple off Amazon, when they go to make their largest sale or purchase, all of a sudden they're like, wait a second, like the experience is worse. The experience should actually be better. This is the biggest thing I've ever bought or sold. So
Sure.
being able to provide that type of experience and take that time off. I mean, just the idea of those, kind of like being able to ping people automatically when you haven't gotten something yet, rather than the escrow officer or assistant having to continually reach out, sounds really.
Right.
So I want to kind of shift into insights. I'm super excited. I just to kind of paint a picture in my own mind, as a title agent, the only people that really knew how to use our title production software, that had a license or a login or knew what to do with it, were our escrow officers and escrow assistants. Myself on the sales team, our managers and owners, maybe sometimes they would go in and be able to kind of figure out what was going on. But traditionally, running a report, so being able to pull data out of it, for me meant having to reach out to the provider and put, or a consultant potentially, spend thousands of dollars having that report built, if it was a powerful report, or having somebody internally that knew it like the back of their hand, which was not easy to come by and very expensive, a full-time employee, right? And so the idea of someone like me, a sales rep or a marketing person, being able to leverage the power of the data that we already have, what's going on within our company, who's opening orders, who's closing them, how long is it taking, what neighborhoods are we crushing it in, what brokerages have we lost recently that we didn't even realize we'd lost yet. I start thinking through all those things. That would have been really complicated for me to figure out using our title production software. It would have meant a lot of phone calls, a lot of favors, and a lot of conversations that weren't necessary. So I get pretty excited thinking about the possibilities of insights. So with that, I'd love for you guys to kind of open the hood a little bit and show us what's going on.
Well, Salmon, you are an innovator. You're the early adopter, and you're at the front end of this spear, if you will. And so, uh, Alanna Insights is been I think about it as a product that, that as you and I are talking, and as you explain your business, as you explain the problem or the questions that you have, just the information you're looking for and the things that matter to you, as you express those to me in conversation, that should be as easy as asking that same question to where the data lives. And then in our case, the production system. And so that's really the concept behind this. Everybody is super excited about, the chat GPTs or the Claudes of the world. Everybody's super excited about it. But what happens is they get to a point to where they're like, great, I love it. I can do something with some emails. And then it's like, how do I use this in my business? And that is a brick wall. I mean, you're slammed in the brick wall. And so, these big AI models don't have access to a lot of different data stores, traditionally speaking, and nobody should have access into your production system for the most part, unless you have a trusted partner, somebody like a solution provider like Alanna. And so that's really where the rubber meets the road, is being able to have an interface between the big, powerful, AI brains and where the data sits, and being able to have a way to have a conversation between the AI and that data. So I think, Randall, are you getting close to ready to show some of this in action? I mean, I can talk about this more, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. So Randall's got a little bit something to show us.
All right. Yep, I'm ready. And I should be
Awesome.
showing my screen now.
I see the Zoom
Oh,
tab.
I shared the wrong screen.
Got a lot of screens going on over there, Randall.
Yes. All right. How about that one?
That looks great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, thanks, Sam, for that great summary of our offerings. I think we have a recording. I'm going to go back and listen to that again. Okay. So Insights, what we've done is we interface with the title production system, And with insights, Alanna will pull a set of data temporarily and then allow you to ask basically whatever questions you can dream up about that data. So when I first started an insight session, it asks how far back do I want to go? And for this demo, I went back 24 months, but you can go back longer. And then I get a little welcome message and it tells me what I can ask about, what elements of data that I can ask about. On our first go around, we are focusing on order data. On our roadmap, we plan to add other segments of data like operations and how efficiently are certain tasks being done. But for now, we're looking at order data. So just to jump right in, my first question is, I'd like to know how my closers are doing. Please list the closers with the number of closings, average time to close, and average sales price, looking back at the last year, and only show those that have at least 10 closings. So the AI went and looked at the data, and we have obfuscated the names here, but this will give you an idea of how your closers are doing. So John Smith here did 444 closings with an average of 63 days to close, and so on. You can read through that. And the great thing is if the AI doesn't give you exactly what you are expecting, you can say, hey, rerun that, but tweak it this way or that way.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
I love that I can take that data instantly, and if I'm doing a presentation or something to the team, like within seconds.
Yeah, there's a little copy button there that lets you copy it to, to the clipboard, and you put it in the email or PowerPoint presentation. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next question is about, I said, please give me a list of realtors whose order counts have dropped by more than 50% in the last 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. And, what this would tell you is, who's been dropping off, and maybe you can go in and call these guys and ask them, what's going on? How can we, serve you better?
Yeah, I'm leading a sales team. That's one of the first thing that I would be looking at and being
Yeah.
like, all right, here's our hit list for repairing relationships, because obviously something shifted there. And the funny thing about that is like, so many sales reps, they have so many relationships they're dealing with. Like you would think like, oh, I would know I've seen this client a lot less lately. I think back and it's like, maybe I wouldn't. I was at so many events, talking to so many people, doing so many things, but to be able to get it in black and white like this and have actual like guideposts for the conversations we need to be having is just insane.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, this is great information, Sam. Yeah, and too many times, people like you and I, it's like people will say things to us in person, but the reality is they may or may not follow through. And so this, the black and white, the reality.
Yeah, I think back to the conversations, a realtor being like, oh man, I've sent you like 20 deals in the last 3 months, to be able to go in and be like, how many deals did Randall Nelson send me in the last 12 months? And it's 4, or
Yeah.
it's 20 deals. And I'm like, or it's 20. And I'm like, Randall, you were spot on. Thank you so much. Like to be able to guide the conversation with data.
Yeah. And so for the next question, I reversed it. I said, show me realtors whose order counts have increased by 50% or more in the last 6 months compared to the prior 6 months. So you can see, hey, who are we doing well with, and who do I need to send thank you notes to, or whatever you might do with that data. You can also ask for it in a chart if you want. And again, you can copy these, send them via email, or put them in a PowerPoint, whatever you would like to do with it. Another thing you can do is you can ask for a spreadsheet. So I say, hey, give me a spreadsheet of buyers who have loan amounts in excess of a certain amount, and include these fields in that spreadsheet. So maybe you want to go and, I don't know, whatever you would want to do with that list.
Yeah. Sam, you might be a spreadsheet junkie like I am. So it's like, no matter what, I'd love to see a spreadsheet and probably do even more to it. But yeah, it's pretty powerful to be able to get to this point.
Absolutely. I mean, I even think of something as simple as like quarterly to be able to simply provide to our team, of their clients, here were your top 20 clients of the last quarter. Now's the time to sit down, pick up the phone, go grab a cup of coffee and say thank you, right?
Yeah,
Handwritten, whatever. But to be able to direct that stuff, because it's a numbers game, right? In the title business, it's a volume game. And so the more
right.
clients I have, the better, but the more likely some of those relationships are to fall through the cracks. Things like saying thank you, things like saying, I haven't seen you in a while, what's going on? But to be able to guide that with data, using simple language. Because again, to create something like this, I think back to, we were on RamQuest at the time. I mean, I would have had to go in and ask a longstanding escrow officer to help me find a way to create some kind of a report or something like that.
Just a few other points is we have coming out within the next month or so, we're going to add a scheduler to this. So if you have a question that you like maybe that this realtor report, you can say, send me an email every Monday morning with this information. So we're adding that. And just a last point, again, if you're not getting the data you're expecting, you can just say, hey, I was expecting this. Why didn't you do that? And the AI will figure out, what you're wanting and try and help you get that. So it's hopefully very user friendly and will get you, the data you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah, Hoyt and I were talking yesterday in preparation about just all the questions that start to come to mind and the power there. I know we're getting a bunch of questions right now. So you guys currently are integrated with SoftPro, Resware, RamQuest, Settler. Am I missing anything?
No, those are it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's, I guess, good news, bad news. Good news is if you're using SoftPro or, RamQuest or Resware, or Settler, then you have access to this.
Yeah. Robin asked
The
about SoftPro in particular. So and I know you guys, like, you're integrated with things now that you weren't a few years ago. And so that landscape is constantly shifting, right?
Absolutely is. And we're really customer driven. When somebody comes to us and says, hey, this is important, I have a good relationship with the TPS and, I want to utilize your product suite with the TPS. That's how a lot of these have been driven, is by the customer itself, by them or a group of customers. So that's always key in our world. But yeah, a couple last comments on, I know we showed some pretty standard ideas of reporting, but almost there's a hesitation there, right, Sam? It's like, give somebody those prompts and they're like, okay, this is what it can do. And it's like, the other side of that is it's open-ended. It's talk to the system. And that's, talk about, that we're not thinking inside or outside the box. There is no box. It's just free form. It's just like, just have a conversation with your data. And that's the part that I just get so excited about, is that, this is next level. We talk about, Microsoft BI, you talk about spreadsheets, or you talk about pulling reports. That's just so, I mean, that's been around for decades.
Yeah.
But the ability just to say, give me this information, give me these columns of information, just give me this information in a way I can use it. It's just next level. I couldn't be more excited. It just blows me away because most people talk about these reports in a very natural language. They'll talk to somebody and say, I need a report that does X, Y, and Z. And now you don't have to go to somebody. You just say it within this tool and get it.
I
So
think
real time.
I think
Yeah.
about accessibility to those of us that were not familiar with the platform. That was the biggest thing. There may have been a couple escrow officers that have been around for decades that I could go ask, and they knew somehow a way to kind of create a very light report of subtype, but that meant me pulling them off their desk, asking them to help me with something. So as a sales rep or a marketing person, or even, even in the leadership side, like, there wasn't a reason for all of us to be in the one, have an expensive license, and two, be embedded in the software
Right.
that I didn't know anything about. I was always afraid I was going to break something. I know I'm glancing at an email that you and I had gone back and forth of. So the prompts were kind of broken down by like COOs and operations. So think of these types of questions. What's your average closing time by closer? That guides me, and maybe
Right.
who needs a little bit different training or something to be able to either speed up, or there's no such thing as needing to slow down. But how many orders did each office process last month, right? Who handled the most files? For sales managers, the sales piece to me is huge. Which realtors have a drop in volume, like we talked about? Who are our top 25 clients? Like who are
Right.
actual top 25 like closed funded clients, not the ones that
Yeah.
are close are closing ratio is like 20%, not those. Who are our actual top 25? What's the average order size by sales rep? What's the average order size by office potentially? And then on the marketing side, again, those of us on the marketing and sales side at an agency that didn't typically have access to this, give me a list of the agents who I haven't seen in the last 60 days, right? What's the monthly trend? What are we doing as a company? Where are we trending? What's the market saying? And so there's all these questions that kind of come to mind. And then I saw Randall, Tim and Andrew had you guys on a few weeks ago, and you guys did a kind of a shallow dive into some of this that was awesome. But you turned the escrow officer data into a poem, and I saw that. It was like break down my escrow officers by closed orders, average price, and basically turn time. And it turned it into a nice poem. So I guess Alanna Insights can get a little creative if you ask it to.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. And that I think that's it is the power of some of these big AI models. That's the power that we're bringing to a point where we're focusing that power, specifically toward title production information. So, Sam, to your point, hey, who's dropped off? Okay, create a compelling email to these agents, indicating trying to, in just the prompt that you would prompt ChatGPT outside the tool, you can actually do it all right there. And so we're working on different ways to take that actionable data and do something with it. And so I think you've talked about that many times on stage of saying, look, your production system has this information in it. You need to find this actionable data and then literally take the next steps. And we're just trying to help those next steps be a little easier to take, as you were saying, for a technical person, somebody who knows the business and has the relationships. And we shouldn't spend all of our time number crunching. I'm not a big number crunch guy, but when you say 50% average over the last quarter compared to that's a math formula. And that kind of makes my brain hurt a little bit thinking about it, how to create a formula to do those calculations. So yeah, I'd rather be working on relationships and meeting people and I have 10 people I can talk to in a day. I want to be the 10 right people to talk to in a day and make my day more productive. And so that's where I see the power of this tool from an individual perspective and an organizational perspective as well.
Absolutely. I just, at the end of the day, we have the data, we own the data, but it's just been kind of locked away in a place that
Yeah.
without a lot of money or time, it was basically inaccessible. And so to be
Yeah.
able to be someone as simple-minded as me to go in and ask us a very simple question, I think back to all the things I got asked to do for some of our brokerages or top agents or whatever, to be able to go in and be like, okay, I've done these 4 events with this brokerage this year. And the promise was our relationship has gotten deeper and more fruitful, and we're working together more often. Give me the last 36 months, year over year over year. Has this actually worked? And if it hasn't, then it's time for a real conversation. So there's just so many uses there. We get a lot of questions about the integration. So again, as of now, SoftPro, ResWare, RamQuest, Settler.
That's correct.
Okay, cool.
That's it.
And so there's always new things coming. So if you're not on one of those platforms, fear not. This has been changing and will continue to change. I just want to thank you guys because to me, if I see something, this industry has been around for 160 years or something like that, right? Ballpark. And so the idea that you guys have built something that has never before existed in a centuries old industry is really exciting. So just as a practitioner and a title nerd, I want to thank you guys for everything you've been doing, from creating awesome customer experiences a la Amazon to creating truly powerful tools for our sales reps and managers and marketing teams to really be able to have the conversations that matter most when they matter most. So kudos to you guys. And thanks for going through the maybe somewhat painful, but definitely necessary process of being absolutely a part of our VRMO, an approved vendor through FNF. So if anybody
Thank
has
you.
any questions about this or wants to learn a little more, how would you suggest that they reach out?
Yeah, you can reach out to me, hman at alanna.ai, or just go to our website at Alanna.ai and fill out a contact form. I see somebody messaged they've already scheduled a demo. So yeah, just reach out to us. We'll get back to you extremely quickly because customer service is important to us. So, and we'll make sure that you guys get to see all the bells and whistles that you're interested in and what we have to offer.
Awesome. And for anybody else, feel free to reach out to your FNF rep or anybody on your strategic growth team, and we can definitely guide you as well. I'll be sending a copy of this recording along with some information about Alanna, as well as the login to the AI empowered title agent to everybody that was here today. The conversation does not stop here. The conversation we had today will probably be totally different a week or 2 weeks from now, or maybe tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Thanks everybody for hopping on today. Hoyt, Randall, it was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much.
Good to meet you.
I'm looking forward and excited to see what continues to happen with Insights, and have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.
And thank you, Sam.
All right. We'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.